The security camera captured Al-Karen's manicured finger, jabbing the air like a weapon. Her voice shrieking demands that would make your blood boil. But what happened next? When those flashing red and blue lights pulled into my gas station, I thought my life was over. Little did I know, Karen had just made the biggest mistake of her entitled life. Because sometimes, karma doesn't just knock, it kicks down the door. Marcus Chen had been running Sunset Gas and Go for 3 years, and he thought he'd seen every type of customer imaginable. The tweakers who counted pennies for an energy drink, the truckers who treated his bathroom like their personal rest stop, the teenagers who thought stealing candy bars was a victimless crime, but nothing, absolutely nothing had prepared him for Karen Whitmore. She pulled up to pump number 4 in a pristine white BMW X7, the kind that cost more than Marcus made in 2 years. Even through the bulletproof glass of his booth, he could see her checking her reflection in the rearview mirror, adjusting her highlighted blonde hair, with the precision of someone who'd never had a bad hair day in her life. Marcus glanced at the clock. 2:47 p.m. On a Tuesday, the afternoon shift was usually quiet, just him and the occasional customer grabbing cigarettes or lottery tickets. His assistant Danny had called in sick again, probably hungover, leaving Marcus to handle everything alone. The BMW's door slammed, with the kind of force that said someone was already having a bad day. Karen emerged wearing designer athleisure that probably cost more than Marcus's monthly rent, her oversized sunglasses perched like a crown on her head. She strutted to the pump with the confidence of someone who'd never been told no in her entire 40-something years. Marcus watched through the security monitor as she grabbed the nozzle and jabbed it into her tank. Nothing happened. She tried again, more aggressively this time, the metal clanking against metal. "Excuse me." Her voice cut through the afternoon air like nails on a chalkboard. "Excuse me." Marcus pressed the intercom button. "Yes, ma'am. How can I help you? Your pump isn't working. I need gas now." "Did you pay first, ma'am?" "All pumps are prepay." The silence that followed was the kind that made Marcus's stomach clench. Through the camera, he watched Karen's face transform from mild annoyance to something far more dangerous. "Prepay, ma." She marched toward his booth, her designer sneakers slapping against the concrete. "Prepayton, do you know who I am?" Marcus had heard this question before, usually from people whose sense of self-importance far exceeded their actual importance. "Ma'am, it's store policy. You can pay with cash or card, then I'll turn on the pump." Karen's hand slammed against the bulletproof glass so hard it rattled in its frame. "I am Karen Whitmore. My husband is Dr. Richard Whitmore. He owns half the medical practices in this city. We've been customers here for years." Marcus checked his computer system. The name came up blank. "Ma'am, I don't see any account under that name. If you'd like to, are you calling me ALIAR?" The transformation was instant and terrifying. One moment she was an annoying customer, the next she was a force of nature, all fury and indignation. Her voice climbed octaves until it became a shriek that made Marcus's ears ring even through the glass. "I want to speak to your manager right now." "Ma'am, I am the manager. I'm also the owner." This seemed to break something fundamental in Karen's brain. Her mouth fell open, then snapped shut like a trap. "The owner? You?" She looked him up and down with the kind of disgust usually reserved for roadkill. Some Chinese kid owns this place." Marcus felt the familiar sting of racism, but he'd learned long ago not to let it show. His parents had immigrated from Taiwan when he was 5, working 18-hour days to give him opportunities they'd never had. This gas station represented everything they'd sacrificed for. "Korean American, actually, and I'm 28. He kept his voice level, professional. "Would you like to pay for gas, or I shouldn't have to pay?" Karen's voice reached a pitch that probably disturbed dogs 3 blocks away. "Do you know how much money my family spends at businesses in this neighborhood? Do you know how much tax money we pay? I deserve free gas." Marcus blinked, certain he'd misheard. Free gas. Yes, free gas, as compensation for this ridiculous inconvenience. "I'm a respected member of this community, and I will not be treated like some common criminal." A car pulled up behind Karen's BMW, the driver honking impatiently. Karen whirled around and screamed, "Shut up. I'm handling business here." The driver, an elderly man in a pickup truck, raised his hands in surrender and backed away from the pump. Marcus watched in fascination as Karen turned back to him, her face now the color of a ripe tomato. In 3 years of running this place, through robberies, drunken fights, and even a small fire, he'd never encountered someone so completely divorced from reality. "Ma'am, I understand you're frustrated, but I can't give away free gas. It's a business, not a charity." Charity. The word came out like a curse. "You think I need charity? I drive a $70,000 car. I live in Hillcrest Estates. I am not asking for charity. I'm demanding the respect I deserve." She began pacing in front of his booth like a caged animal, gesturing wildly. Other customers were starting to stare, some pulling out phones to record the spectacle. "Ma'am, please lower your voice. You're disturbing other customers." "I don't care about other customers," she shrieked. "I care about the appalling service I'm receiving. This is discrimination. This is This is racism." Marcus felt something cold settle in his stomach. The racism card, the nuclear option of entitled customers everywhere. He'd seen it before. The way certain people weaponized accusations of discrimination when they didn't get their way. Ma'am, asking you to pay for gas like every other customer isn't racism. It's business. Don't you dare tell me what is or isn't racism. I know discrimination when I see it. You're targeting me because I'm white and successful. A small crowd had gathered, other customers, people from neighboring businesses, even a few drivers who'd pulled over to watch the show. Karen seemed to feed off the attention, her performance becoming even more theatrical. I'm calling my husband. He'll have this place shut down. She fumbled for her phone with shaking hands. Richard, you need to get down here right now. This ... This person is refusing to serve me. Marcus could hear the tinny voice on the other end of the line, too quiet to make out words, but clearly trying to calm her down. No, I will not calm down. He's discriminating against me. He wants me to pay for gas, like some ... some poor person. The voice on the phone grew more insistent. Fine, but I'm not done with this. She ended the call and pointed a manicured finger at Marcus like she was casting a curse. You haven't heard the last of this. I'm calling corporate. I'm calling the Better Business Bureau. I'm calling everyone, ma'am. I own this station independently. There's no corporate. This revelation seemed to short-circuit her brain again. She stood there for a full 10 seconds, mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. Then ... Then I'm calling the police. This is harassment. This is discrimination. This is America, and I have rights. Marcus felt his patience finally snap. 3 years of dealing with difficult customers, racist comments, and endless bureaucracy had built up a reservoir of frustration, and Karen had just punched a hole in the dam. Ma'am, you have the right to buy gas or leave. Those are your options. How dare you? How dare you speak to me that way? I am a taxpayer. I am a citizen. I will not be disrespected by some ... some immigrant. The word hung in the air like poison. Around them, the crowd had grown larger, phones recording every word. Marcus could see the exact moment Karen realized she'd crossed a line. Her eyes widened slightly, her mouth snapping shut. But it was too late. The words were out there, captured, in high definition by a dozen different devices. I didn't mean, she stammered, but her voice had lost its commanding edge. Marcus leaned into the intercom, his voice deadly calm. Ma'am, I'm going to ask you to leave my property now. You can't make me leave. This is a public business. It's private property, and you're trespassing. Leave, or I'll call the police. Myself. Karen's face cycled through several emotions: rage, confusion, fear, then back to rage. You know what? Fine. I'm calling the police myself. We'll see who they believe, a respected member of this community, or some immigrant who probably doesn't even belong here. She stalked back to her BMW, phone already pressed to her ear. Marcus could hear her voice even through the bulletproof glass, shrill and demanding. Police. I need officers at Sunset gas station immediately. I'm being harassed and discriminated against. The owner is being hostile and ... and threatening me. Marcus watched her pace beside her car, gesturing wildly as she spoke to the dispatcher. Around the lot, customers were still filming, some shaking their heads in disgust, others watching with the morbid fascination of rubberneckers at a car accident. His phone buzzed with a text from his friend Jake, who worked at the auto parts store next door. Dude, is that lady for real? Half the street is watching this train wreck. Marcus typed back. She wants free gas and called the cops when I said no. Holy shit. Want me to come over? Nah, I got this. But keep recording from your window if you can. As Marcus waited for the inevitable arrival of the police, he found himself. Karen's perfectly manicured hands trembled as she watched Marcus lead the 4 officers toward his booth. The confident mask she'd worn for the past 30 minutes was cracking, revealing something desperate and afraid underneath. Wait, she called out, her voice higher than before. Officers, you don't need to see any footage. This is clearly a he said she said situation. Just take my statement and his statement, and we can resolve this like civilized people. Sergeant Williams paused, his dark eyes studying Karen with the practiced gaze of someone who'd heard every lie in the book. Ma'am, if the footage supports your version of events, it'll only help your case. Unless you have some reason to object to the truth. The word truth hit Karen like a physical blow. Marcus could see her mind racing, calculating, trying to find an escape route that didn't exist. I know, of course not. I just think it's unnecessary. I'm a respected member of this community. My word should be enough. Officer Martinez, a young Latina cop with sharp eyes, exchanged a glance with her partner. Ma'am, in situations like this, video evidence is always helpful. It protects everyone involved. Marcus unlocked his booth and gestured for the officers to enter. The small space was cramped with 4 police officers, but they arranged themselves around his security monitor with professional efficiency. The incident started about 25 minutes ago, Marcus explained, his fingers dancing across the keyboard. She pulled up the pump couldn't get gas because she hadn't prepaid, and then, well, you'll see. Karen pressed herself against the bulletproof glass, trying to peer inside. This is harassment. You can't just show them private footage without my consent. Ma'am, Sergeant Williams called through the intercom. You're on private property with clearly posted surveillance signs. The business owner has every right to show us this footage. The monitor flickered to life, showing a crystal clear view of the gas station lot. The timestamp read 2:47 p.m., and there was Karen's white BMW pulling up to pump for with the arrogant precision of someone who'd never doubted their place in the world. Here we go, Marcus murmured, pressing play. They watched in silence as the events unfolded. Karen's initial confusion at the pump, her march to the booth, the escalating confrontation. The audio was clear enough to catch every word, every inflection, every racist comment, and entitled demand. Officer Chen, an Asian American cop who'd been quiet until now, winced visibly when Karen's voice shrieked through the speakers. Some Chinese kid owns this place? Korean American, actually, Marcus corrected quietly, the same words he'd spoken in the moment. The footage continued, showing Karen's meltdown in all its glory. Her demands for free gas, her claims of discrimination, her pacing and gesturing, like a woman possessed. The officers watched with increasing incredulity as she pulled the race card, claiming Marcus was discriminating against her for being white and successful. Jesus, Officer Martinez muttered under her breath. But the worst was yet to come, as the footage reached the moment when Karen called him an immigrant with such venom that it poisoned the air around her. Sergeant Williams actually took a step back from the monitor. Ma'am, he called through the intercom, you need to see this. I don't need to see anything. Karen's voice was shrill with panic. I know what happened. I was there. Yes, ma'am, you were. And so were our cameras. The final moments of the footage were devastating. Karen on the phone with 911, spinning a web of lies about harassment and threats that the video clearly disproved. Her false claims of feeling unsafe, her demands for immediate police response, all while Marcus stood calmly in his booth, never raising his voice, never making a threatening gesture. When the footage ended, the silence in the booth was deafening. The four officers looked at each other, then at Marcus, then back at the monitor, as if hoping they'd somehow misunderstood what they'd just witnessed. Mr. Chen, Sergeant Williams said finally, "Thank you for showing us this. It clarifies things considerably." Marcus nodded, but he could see the frustration in the sergeant's eyes. They all knew what happened next to paperwork. The reports, the delicate dance of dealing with someone who'd just committed multiple crimes while claiming to be the victim. Officer Martinez leaned toward the intercom. Ma'am, we need you to step away from the booth. We'd like to speak with you. About what? I'm the victim here. That man discriminated against me. Ma'am, please step back. Karen reluctantly moved away from the booth as the officers filed out. Marcus followed, locking the door behind him. The crowd of onlookers had grown even larger, with people streaming out of nearby businesses to watch the drama unfold. Sergeant Williams approached Karen with the measured steps of a man walking toward a ticking bomb. Ma'am, we've reviewed the security footage, and I need to ask you some questions. What questions? It's all very simple. He discriminated against me. I felt threatened. I called for help. That's what happened. According to the footage, you demanded free gas. Is that correct? Karen's mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. Yes, but only because of the poor service. I deserved compensation for the inconvenience. And when Mr. Chen declined to give you free gas, you called him racist names. Is that correct? I didn't. That's taken out of context. Officer Chen stepped forward, his voice carefully controlled. Ma'am, we heard you call him some Chinese kid and later refer to him as some immigrant. We also heard you say he probably doesn't even belong here. Would you like to explain the context that makes those statements acceptable? Karen looked around desperately, as if searching for allies in the crowd, but the faces surrounding her ranged from disgusted to openly hostile. Someone in the back called out, "We all heard you, lady." "You don't understand," she said, her voice breaking. "I'm not a racist. I have Asian friends. I eat at Chinese restaurants all the time." The collective groan from the crowd was audible. Even some of the officers looked uncomfortable with the classic racist's defense. "Ma'am," Sergeant Williams continued, "you also told our dispatcher that Mr. Chen was harassing and threatening you. The footage shows him remaining calm and professional throughout the entire interaction. Can you explain why you made false statements to emergency services?" This was the moment Karen realized she was trapped. Marcus could see it in her eyes, the exact instant when her brain processed that every lie she'd told was captured on camera, that every false accusation was about to boomerang back and destroy her. I felt threatened. Even if he didn't say anything threatening, I felt threatened. That's valid. My feelings are valid. Ma'am, filing a false police report is a crime. Making false accusations is a crime. And what we saw on that footage suggests you may have committed both. Karen's face went from red to white to green in the span of 10 seconds. Crime? What crime? I'm the victim here. I'm being discriminated against. This is ... This is a conspiracy. A conspiracy. Officer Martinez raised an eyebrow. Between who? All of you. You're all protecting him because ... Because you're minorities too. This is reverse racism. The words hung in the air like a toxic cloud, Even Karen seemed to realize she'd just made things infinitely worse for herself. The crowd's murmur turned angry, and Sergeant Williams held up a hand for quiet. "Ma'am, I need you to understand something. 4 police officers just watched 25 minutes of video footage showing you demanding free gas, hurling racial slurs, and then lying to emergency services about being threatened. Those are facts, not feelings." Karen began to hyperventilate, her designer athleisure suddenly looking like a costume she'd outgrown. "This can't be happening. This can't be happening. Do you know who my husband is? Do you know who I am? Ma'am, I don't care if you're married to the governor. The law applies to everyone equally." It was then that Karen made her final, fatal mistake. Instead of apologizing, instead of showing even a shred of remorse or self-awareness, she doubled down. With the fury of someone who'd never faced real consequences in her entire privileged life. "This is bullshit," she screamed, loud enough to be heard 3 blocks away. "I will not be treated like a common criminal. I'm calling my lawyer. I'm calling the mayor. I'm calling everyone. You people have no idea who you're messing with." She fumbled for her phone again, but Sergeant Williams gently but firmly took it from her hands. "Ma'am, you're under arrest for filing a false police report and abuse of emergency services. You have the right to remain silent. Arrested." The word came out as a shriek that probably set every dog in the neighborhood to howling. "You can't arrest me. I'm the victim. I'm the one who called you." But the handcuffs were already clicking into place. The cold metal, a stark contrast to her expensive jewelry. Karen struggled against them, her movements frantic and uncoordinated. "This is illegal. This is police brutality. I'm being arrested for being white." The crowd's reaction was immediate and hostile. Someone shouted, "You're being arrested for being crazy." Another voice called out, "And racist." The chorus of disapproval grew louder, forcing the officers to form a protective circle around Karen as they escorted her toward the patrol car. Marcus watched from beside his booth, still struggling to process what had just happened. In the span of 30 minutes, he'd gone from dealing with a difficult customer to Dr. Richard Whitmore received the call at 4:17 p.m. while reviewing patient charts in his pristine downtown office. The mahogany desk, medical diplomas, and family photos painted the picture of a successful man who'd built his life on reputation and respectability. "Dr. Whitmore, this is Sergeant Williams with Metro Police. Your wife has been arrested." The words didn't compute at first. Richard set down his gold-plated pen and pressed the phone closer to his ear, certain he'd misheard. "I'm sorry. Could you repeat that?" "Your wife, Karen Whitmore, has been arrested for filing a false police report and abuse of emergency services. She's currently being processed at the downtown detention center." Richard's carefully ordered world tilted on its axis. There must be some mistake. "My wife DOESN, single quotes T. She wouldn't." "What exactly happened, sir? I'd prefer to discuss the details in person, but I can tell you that she was arrested after making false accusations against a local business owner. The incident was captured on security cameras." False accusations? Security cameras? The words swirled in Richard's mind like a diagnosis he couldn't accept. Karen was dramatic, entitled, sometimes embarrassingly so, but criminal. It seemed impossible. "I'll be right there," he said, already reaching for his coat. The drive to the police station was a blur of disbelief and growing dread. Richard had built his medical practice on trust and reputation to things that could be destroyed overnight by scandal. As he pulled into the station parking lot, he noticed several news vans with satellite dishes extended like mechanical vultures. His stomach dropped. Whatever Karen had done, it was already making news. Inside the station, Sergeant Williams greeted him with the weary professionalism of someone delivering bad news to family members. "Dr. Whitmore, thank you for coming. I need to show you something before you see your wife." They walked to a small conference room where Williams pulled up the gas station security footage on a laptop. "This incident occurred earlier today at Sunset Gas Station. Your wife called 911 claiming she was being harassed and threatened by the owner." Richard watched in mounting horror as his wife transformed from an ordinary customer into something unrecognizable. The demanding tone, the racial slurs, the shrieking demands for free gas. It was like watching a stranger wearing Karen's face. "Oh my God," he whispered as she called Marcus some Chinese kid with such venom it made his skin crawl. But the worst was yet to come. As the footage progressed, showing Karen's escalating racism and false accusations, Richard felt something die inside his chest. This wasn't just embarrassing, it was career-ending. In a city where half his patients were minorities, where his hospital board included prominent Asian American doctors, this video was professional suicide. "Dr. Whitmore," Williams said gently, "your wife lied to our dispatcher. She claimed she was being threatened when the footage clearly shows the business owner remained calm and professional throughout. That's a felony." Richard stared at the frozen image on the screen. Karen's face twisted with rage as she pointed an accusing finger at Marcus through the bulletproof glass. Can I see her now?" The detention center holding area smelled like disinfectant and desperation. Karen sat in an orange jumpsuit that made her look smaller somehow, her perfect hair disheveled, her makeup smeared from crying. When she saw Richard, her face lit up with relief. Richard, thank God you're here. This is all a huge misunderstanding. These people are trying to destroy me. Richard sat across from her, the metal table cold under his hands. Karen, I saw the video. The words hit her like a physical blow. Her face went through a series of expressions: confusion, denial, fear, then desperate calculation. The video is edited. It's taken out of context. That man provoked me. He was discriminating against me from the moment I arrived. Karen, you called him racial slurs. You demanded free gas. You lied to the police. I did not lie. Her voice rose to the familiar shriek that had gotten her arrested. I felt threatened. My feelings are valid. Just because some security camera doesn't show my internal emotional state doesn't mean I lied. Richard felt a headache building behind his eyes. This was classic Karen, able to admit fault, always the victim. Reality bending around her needs like light around a black hole. Karen, you're facing felony charges. This video is already online. It's going viral. The color drained from her face. Viral? What do you mean viral? Someone posted it on social media. It has 500,000 views already. The comments, ... double quotes. He couldn't finish the sentence. Karen's hands flew to her mouth. No, no, no. This can't be happening. Richard, you have to fix this. Call your lawyer friends. Call the mayor. You have connections. Karen, I can't fix this. Nobody can fix this. You committed crimes on camera. Crimes. She was shrieking now, loud enough to bring the guard to the door. I'm not a criminal. I'm a respectable married woman. I volunteer at the animal shelter. I donate to charity. Richard looked at his wife, freely looked at her hand, saw a stranger. When had she become this person? When had her casual prejudices hardened into this venomous racism? When had her sense of entitlement grown so malignant that she'd destroy innocent people to feed it? The hospital board called, he said quietly. They want to meet tomorrow morning. Karen's face went white. The Whitmore Foundation donated hundreds of thousands to the hospital each year. Richard sat on 3 medical boards, chaired to charity committees, and was being considered for chief of staff. All of that was now in jeopardy because his wife couldn't pay for gas like a civilized human being. What did you tell them? Nothing yet. But Karen, they've seen the video. Everyone's seen the video. As if summoned by his words, the detention center's TV flickered to life in the corner of the room. The local news was running the story. And there was Karen's face on screen, frozen in a moment of pure rage as she hurled racial slurs at Marcus. ... Shocking video of a local woman's racist tirade has gone viral, sparking outrage across the community. The woman, identified as Karen Whitmore, wife of prominent physician Dr. Richard Whitmore, was arrested after making false accusations against the Korean-American business owner. Karen stared at the screen in horror as her worst moment played out for the entire city to see. The news anchor's voice was professionally neutral, but the condemnation was clear in every word. Turn it off, she whispered. But Richard couldn't look away. The story continued with interviews from witnesses, community leaders expressing outrage, and even a brief statement from Marcus asking for privacy while he dealt with the aftermath. He seems like a nice young man, the reporter noted. A hardworking business owner who immigrated with his family as a child. Built a life here, only to face this kind of hatred for doing his job. Richard felt sick. This was exactly the kind of story that destroyed careers, ended friendships, turned a person into a pariah overnight. And it was his wife, his responsibility, at the center of it all. Richard. Karen's voice was small now, desperate. You have to help me. You have to stand by me. We're married, for better or worse. Remember? He looked at her sitting there, in her orange jumpsuit, still trying to manipulate him even after everything she'd done. The woman he'd married 23 years ago had been imperfect but human. This creature wearing her face was something else entirely. Karen, I've already retained a criminal defense attorney for you. But I think, I think we need to discuss separation. The word hit her like a lightning bolt. Separation. Richard, you can't leave me now, not when I need you most. You didn't need me when you were calling that man racist names. You didn't need me when you were lying to the police. You did this alone, Karen. And now you get to face the consequences alone. But my reputation, my social standing, what will people think? Richard stood up, his decision crystallizing with perfect clarity. Karen, your reputation is destroyed. Your social standing is gone. And frankly, after watching that video, I understand why you can't abandon me. I'm your wife. You were my wife. Now, you're a viral video and a criminal defendant, and I have a career to salvage. As Richard walked toward the door, Karen's voice rose to a familiar shriek. This is your fault. If you've given me more attention, more respect, I wouldn't have needed to demand it from strangers. You drove me to this. He paused at the door, not turning around. Karen, you drove yourself to this the moment you decided that being white and married to a doctor made you better than everyone else. The only surprise is that it took this long for someone to call you on it. The last thing he heard, as the door closed behind him, was Karen screaming about abandonment and betrayal, her voice echoing off the concrete walls like the cry of something trapped and dying. Outside the detention center, Richard pulled out his phone and saw 47 missed calls, hundreds of text messages, and an email inbox that was exploding with reporters, colleagues, and hospital administrators all wanting statements, explanations, damage control. His phone buzzed with a text from Dr. Angela Kim, his colleague and friend for over a decade. Richard, I'm so sorry you're going through this, but we need to talk about your board positions. Another text from his golfing buddy Tom Martinez. Jesus, Rich, is that really Karen? What the hell happened? And another from his own mother. Richard, honey, I saw the news. That poor boy. What was Karen thinking? Standing in the Marcus Chen stood in his empty gas station at 6 a.m., watching the sunrise paint the sky in shades of hope he didn't feel. The parking lot was still littered with coffee cups and fast food wrappers from the media circus that had descended after Karen's arrest. 3 news trucks remained, their crews setting up for the morning broadcasts that would dissect his life for public consumption. His phone buzzed constantly, reporters, lawyers, activists, and random strangers who'd somehow gotten his number. The voicemail box was full. His business Facebook page had exploded with comments ranging from supportive to threatening, forcing him to shut it down entirely. But it was the email from his landlord that made his hands shake. Marcus, we need to discuss your lease renewal given recent events. Jake knocked on the glass door, holding 2 cups of coffee and looking exhausted. Marcus let him in, grateful for a friendly face in what felt like an increasingly hostile world. How bad is it? Jake asked, handing over the coffee. Marcus gestured at his laptop, where the security footage had been viewed over 2 million times across various platforms. The videos everywhere. Someone made memes out of it. There's a Karen at the gas station Halloween costume, all ready for sale online. That's insane. The death threat started around midnight, Marcus continued, his voice flat with exhaustion. Apparently I'm a race-baiting immigrant who destroyed an innocent white woman's life. Also, I should go back where I came from, which is interesting since I was born in Fresno. Jake winced. Jesus, what about the positive stuff? Marcus pulled up another screen showing a GoFundMe page he hadn't created. Someone started this to support the racist victim. It's raised $40,000. Problem is, I never asked for it, and now people are accusing me of profiting from racism. This is getting out of control. Before Marcus could respond, a black BMW pulled into the lot. Through the tinted windows, he could make out a figure in an expensive suit approaching. The door? Dr. Richard Whitmore. Jake read from the business card the man held up to the glass. Shit, that's her husband. Marcus hesitated, then unlocked the door. Richard Whitmore looked like he'd aged a decade overnight, his usually perfect hair disheveled, dark circles under his eyes, his expensive suit wrinkled as if he'd slept in it. Mr. Chen, I'm Richard Whitmore. I know you have no reason to speak with me, but I'd like to apologize for what my wife did to you. Marcus studied the man's face, looking for deception or manipulation. All he saw was genuine shame and exhaustion. Dr. Whitmore, I appreciate that, but your wife's actions aren't your responsibility, aren't they? Richard's voice cracked slightly. I've been married to her for 23 years. I've heard her make comments, seen her treat service workers badly, watched her sense of entitlement grow worse each year. And I did nothing. I enabled it. Jake stepped forward protectively. What do you want? Richard reached into his jacket and pulled out an envelope. I want to make this right, as much as possible. That's a check for $50,000, not as payment for silence, but as compensation for the harassment you've endured and will continue to endure. I also wanted you to know that I've asked Channel 7 to interview me this evening. I'm going to publicly condemn my wife's actions and support you. Marcus stared at the envelope, not touching it. Dr. Whitmore, I don't want your money. Then donate it to charity. Use it to upgrade your security system. I don't care, but please don't let my wife's racism cost you your business. My business? Marcus felt something cold settle in his stomach. Richard's face fell. You don't know. The corporate headquarters of your gas supplier called an emergency meeting this morning. There's talk of terminating your franchise agreement due to negative publicity impact on brand image. The words hit Marcus like a physical blow. This gas station was everything: his life's work, his parents' investment, his future. The idea that Karen's racism could destroy it all felt like a knife twisting in his chest. They can't do that, Jake said. He's the victim here. Unfortunately, victim or not, viral videos make corporations nervous. They'd rather cut ties than risk association with controversy. Marcus sank into his chair behind the counter, the weight of the situation finally crushing down on him. So she wins. She destroys my reputation, costs me my business, and faces what, a few months in jail. Maybe probation? Actually, Richard said quietly, there's something else you should know. The video has created a situation for Karen that goes beyond the criminal charges. He pulled out his phone and showed them a news article. Hillcrest Estates Homeowners Association moves to expel Whitmore family following racist incident. They're kicking her out of her neighborhood, Jake asked unanimously. Turns out several residents are minorities who found her behavior incompatible with community values. Also, the animal shelter where she volunteered has banned her permanently. The country club revoked her membership. Her book club expelled her. Even her yoga instructor dropped her as a client. Marcus felt a flicker of something that might have been satisfaction, but it was quickly overshadowed by exhaustion. And you, what happens to your career? Richard's laugh was bitter. I was asked to resign from 2 hospital boards this morning. The Whitmore Foundation's charity events have been canceled indefinitely. I've lost 3 major donors and counting. 20 years of building relationships, gone overnight. I'm sorry, Marcus said, and was surprised to find he meant it. Don't be. I earned this. Every time I made excuses for her behavior, every time I looked the other way when she was rude to waiters or dismissive of service workers, I was complicit. This is long overdue. The door chimed, and a young black woman in a power suit entered. She moved with the confidence of someone accustomed to making important decisions. Mr. Chen, I'm Angela Brooks from the ACLU. We'd like to discuss your legal options. Richard stood to leave. I'll let you handle your business, but Mr. Chen, please take the check. And please know that not everyone thinks what happened to you is acceptable. After he left, Angela Brooks sat across from Marcus, her expression serious. Mr. Chen, what happened to you represents something larger than one woman's racism. We'd like to file a federal civil rights lawsuit not just against Mrs. Whitmore, but against the systems that enabled her behavior. What systems? The gas station corporate office that's now trying to punish you for being the victim of racism. The police department's initial reluctance to take your complaints seriously until they saw you were the victim, not the perpetrator. The online harassment you're receiving. This is about more than one incident. Marcus felt overwhelmed. I just want to run my gas station in peace. I understand, but sometimes peace requires fighting for it, and you wouldn't be fighting alone. Before Marcus could respond, his phone rang. The caller ID showed his mother. Marcus, honey, I saw the news. Are you okay? I'm fine, Mom. Your father and I are driving up from San Diego. We'll be there tonight. Marcus felt tears pricking his eyes. His parents, now in their 70s, making the 4-hour drive because their son was under attack? Mom, you don't have to. Yes, we do. That woman attacked our son, our family, everything we've built in this country. She doesn't get to win. As Marcus hung up, he looked around. His gas station, the business his parents had helped him buy, the dream they'd all sacrificed for. Karen Whitmore had tried to destroy it with her entitled racism, and now corporations and internet trolls were trying to finish the job. But sitting there with Jake's supportive presence, Angela Brooks's offer of legal protection, Dr. Whitmore's unexpected alliance, and his parents driving through the night to stand beside him, Marcus realized something important. Karen might have viral video fame and an army of online supporters, but he had something more powerful. He had community, he had truth, and he had people who wouldn't let racism win without a fight. Marcus looked at Angela Brooks. Tell me about this lawsuit. Outside, the news crews were setting up for their evening broadcasts, ready to dissect every angle of the story. But inside the gas station, surrounded by allies he hadn't expected, Marcus Chen was preparing to turn from victim to fighter. Karen Whitmore had started this war with her racist tantrum. Now it was time to finish it, not with hatred or revenge, but with the kind of justice that actually meant something. The battle for Sunset Gas and Go was about to begin.